Okay, we are recording. So, welcome everyone to the path to presidential. And I know all of you know me, but if you're watching the recording, my name is Aisha Harley, and I am going to share with you my process of moving. I'll actually talk a little bit from moving to diamond to blue to presidential, to share a little bit of background about my journey. I was introduced to doTERRA in 2010. I did not intend to build this business. I was a commercial photographer and a yoga teacher for 20 years. I knew nothing about essential oils, and I was introduced to them at the yoga studio where Erin Ingraham worked at the front desk. And I bought my first oils out of the trunk of her car. And I used them for a year. And I went to my first convention in 2011 and had a really, as many of us know, kind of a life-altering experience meeting Emily Wright and Dr. Hill. And at the time, I also had Lyme disease and was very ill. And I'm not going to go into this part of the story, but I used some Slim and Sassy, which basically shifted my 3 years of insomnia. And I started to use the essential oils to heal from Lyme disease. And through that experience, I decided to jump in and build this business. So without really even knowing what I was doing, Erin, right after she introduced me, basically moved to Hawaii. So I was on my own. And I had learned at the convention how to teach a class. And I was introduced to a doTERRA pad, which I thought was the best thing in the world. And I taught one class for a year. And I moved from silver to platinum pretty quickly in that first year. And then in my following year, I went to diamond. So it took me about a year and 10 months to get to diamond. And then I got really stuck. And I sat at diamond for 3 years, which is not a bad place to be stuck at. So I was very grateful that that was my glass ceiling. And I was a very fat diamond, but I could not seem to get myself from diamond to blue. And it took me 3 years. So it took me a year and 10 months to move from, zero to diamond. And then it took me another 3 years to move to blue diamond. And I spent a lot of money on a lot of different coaching programs. And I learned a lot during that process. So it was certainly really valuable to my business. But I always felt like there was a piece to this business that I didn't understand. And so then I went to the Blue and Presidential Summit that Justin Harrison had in Utah. And the most impactful part of that presentation was when Elise Chedevy spoke and talked about strategy. And I felt like there was this golden nugget of information that some people had and not everybody had. And I had been looking for this information for 3 years. So then she had, shortly after that, her mind-blowing strategy session in Utah. And she started laying out all these strategies. And it really blew my mind. And I thought, okay, this is the piece to my business that I've been looking for. And then she just started her Prague trips. So I immediately signed up to go to Prague. So Marty and Jim and I were all in Prague together. And being with her for a week was really impactful for me. Her energy, her tenacity, the way she thinks about her business. I thought I worked a lot until I saw the level that she works. And then I actually returned to her mind-blowing strategies again last year. So the reason I'm sharing all of this is that I'm really wanting to give her credit. I mean, everything I'm sharing with you is information I learned from her. And it took me a while to really implement it and really get it. But I slowly started to implement different pieces of what I learned from her. And it actually is what got me one to blue. And I can share with you what I started to do to get to blue diamond. And then I felt like I was, of course, over the moon, thrilled to get to blue because it had taken me 3 years to do that. But I thought, I don't want to get to blue and then get stuck again. I want to just keep moving my business and get to presidential. And so I went to her Mind-Blowing Strategies again in January, and I felt like going to that course twice, it really sunk in a different way. And then my goal was actually to get to presidential in December. Like I still had a baby leg that was just newly forming. And so I needed to, take a baby leg to platinum. And in the old way that I had done my business, I thought, okay, well, I could probably do that in a year. Well, Melina Harrison shared some information when we were there, and I really loved what she had shared. And so I wrote to her after the course, and I said, would you please review some of the points that you were sharing, because I didn't get it all in the class. And she said, great, I would love to give you a coaching session. And I said, right on, I'll take you up on that. So I did a coaching session with Melina Harrison, and we reviewed, where I was at in my business. And I basically, just so you know where I was at, I had 2 leaders that were gold that were my 2 qualifying leaders for Blue Diamond. And then I had 1 more leg that was at a premier. Okay, so I had 2 golds and a premier that all needed to get to platinum. My other platinums were really solid. So I had 3 legs that I needed to work on. And when I showed her my organization and was talking to her about my plan, this was in January, mind you, she said, I think you can do this in March. And I thought, I think you're crazy. Because I have no idea how to take a leg from premier to platinum in 1 month or 2 months. And so I'm going to share the strategy that she shared with me. And then just to give you the inside scoop, then I went to my first Blue and Presidential Summit. And she told Emily Wright that I was going presidential. And then Emily said, oh, I hear you're going presidential. And I thought, oh no, don't tell Emily I'm going presidential. And I was talking to Emily and Melina, and they said, well, why not February? And I looked at them both and I thought, you ladies are totally insane. I don't know how the heck I would do this in February. I mean, I just had no idea how I would ever make that happen. And I thought, I'll stick with March. I think I need 2 months. But lo and behold, things started to lay out, and February was the month that it happened. So I'm just sharing this with you because I just want you to know it's truly possible. And all of February, I went back and forth of this is happening, this is not happening, this is happening, this is not happening. But I literally just committed. I really worked 24/7. I layered a lot of strategies. I implemented a lot of plans. I got all my leaders on board. And of course, I had some holes as well, like we all do. So I had to take into account the weak spots that I was going to have to fill in for. And I just ran for it. And then I'll just share the last part of the story, and then I'll get to all the strategies. At the last moment, so I had 3 days left, and I still was at a deficit of $28,000. And of course, the buy-in is $14,000. So my target was just to get to the buy-in. So I pretty much had to cut that in half. And I'll be honest, I was exhausted. I was just totally exhausted. We just wrapped up BOGO week. I was up till 2 or 3 a.m. every night of the week getting BOGO videos ready and really like running hard with the BOGOs. And I actually called all my leaders and I said, we've worked really hard. You guys have done an amazing job, but why don't you hold your enrollments and we're just going to go for this in March. And I basically was ready to call it quits. And one of my diamond leaders, who's not even a qualifying leader, I'm fully going to give her credit. Her name is Tiffin. Some of you might know her. She called me on Monday and she said, how are your numbers? And I said, I'm still $28,000 away. I'm exhausted. I just want to go to bed. I'm sure you've all been there. And she said, I'm coming over. And she showed up on my doorstep with her overnight bag. And she said, we are making a plan. This is happening. So I said, okay, girl, let's do it. She said, are you ready to lay it all on the line and give it all up? Like, are you ready to like lay down that $30,000 in the, in the case we don't cross the finish line? And I said, okay. And I went down to my husband and I said, this is insane. I don't know if it's going to work, but, I hope you're okay with me laying $30,000 on the table. It might cost us our whole Blue Diamond paycheck. I don't know. But I said, but I'm going for it. And so we went for it, and our plan was executed, and it paid off, and we crossed the finish line. So there's the backstory. So Marty, I hope that's kind of what you wanted to hear. So let's get to it. And then again, if you guys have questions as I'm going through this, just hop in and ask me, and we can also have discussion at the end. So first of all, I assume you are all doing this, but I have learned from several leaders as I coach people that they're not. So if you are not using your rank tracker, are you all using your rank tracker? Because there's no way you're going to presidential without a solid spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And having gone blue, like you realize blue and presidential, it's a whole nother level. Like, I spent all day, I kid you not, all day on Wednesday doing my buy-in, right? Like it was intense, and making sure that all my numbers were accurate and I was filling all the holes. Like it was a full day process. So the rank tracker will really keep you on track. And I really have been training all of my leaders to use the rank tracker, because sure, you can keep track of your numbers as an elite or a silver on a scratch pad. But I had a diamond that still wasn't using her rank tracker. And she actually, missed one of her buy-in amounts by $5. And the next day realized she wasn't diamond because of a math error. And she's actually really good at math. So I know you guys know this, but I just can't stress how important a tool, especially moving from blue to presidential, that rank tracker is. And as much as I thought blue was a big bite to take, presidential is just that much bigger. So just use your rank tracker. Okay. And then also I worked with each of my individual leaders separately to help create strategies for their plan, for their team. Now, a lot of them I kind of were across the board, but some legs didn't need anything. So there were areas that I did specific strategies for those legs. There were incentives that I just gave to certain things. And then there were also things that I did team-wide, because I figured if I'm going to put the energy into, doing a study, why not offer that to my entire team? Like it's the same amount of work regardless. And so I kind of, did that strategically. And then I'm not sure, Jessica, have you attended Elisa's training? Because I know Asti and Marty and Jim have. So she talks about planning, 6 weeks out. So basically you're implementing the plan, a couple weeks prior to the month that you want to hit. And depending on where you are, you might be making a 3-month or a 6-month plan, depending on if you have the players in place, but you want to kind of plan that accordingly. And then again, I just talked about this a little bit, but you want to layer the strategies. I basically was bringing out different strategies throughout the month. And especially when you get to the 15th of the month and you look at your numbers, that's where I really started laying out some bigger offers and laying it on the line. And then the last thing that I want to add, and then I'll get into the strategies, is that, and you all know this, I don't feel like I'm telling any of you anything you don't know, but you have to decide that this is non-negotiable. When you decide to really go for it, you have to decide in every cell of your being that this is happening. And I liken it to a baby being born. That baby is coming, and you can't stop halfway when the baby's crowning and say, never mind, I am not doing this. You have to realize that you are giving birth to to something beautiful and big, and it's going to get uncomfortable, and at times you're going to hate it, and at times you're not going to want to do it, and at times you're going to really doubt it, but you have to decide in every cell of your being that this is happening and have gratitude that it's happening and just totally trust the alignment that is happening. There's certainly other months that I thought, oh, I'm going to make this happen, but I haven't really fully been in the game. And it has blown my mind what can begin to align when you declare that this is happening. So just a reminder to just fully get in. I feel like for all of us that have been in this business for a long time, it's easy to get tired. It's easy to get a little lazy. It's easy to kind of feel like, but we've got to like reinvigorate our passion and decide this is happening, So Marty, did you have a question?
I did. I wanted to talk to you for a second about the non-negotiable aspect. So it sounds like you enlisted your team leaders, including those, not only the solid platinums, but the golds and the new premier in your vision, right? It wasn't like you were off on the side doing your thing. They were a critical piece of this puzzle, I'm assuming.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the big one for me was my premier. And I reached out to her in February after talking to Melina. And I said, and her goal was to actually be silver by the end of the year. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
but
she's a go-getter. And she also had some budding baby builders. And I'm going to talk to you about actually how enlightened I was by taking someone from premier to platinum. And I knew she was going to run with me. And so I texted her and I said, how does platinum sound for March? And she was like, I am fully in. You tell me what to do. And I had to be honest with her. I said, I'm not exactly sure how we're doing this, but we're going to do this. So as I learned and as we implemented, we just basically kind of figured it out together. And what is really exciting is at the blue and presidential level, and also with having the skill set, I felt confident in that I know how to get my leaders across the finish line. Whereas in the past, we might implement something, we might, lay something out, but then I wouldn't know how to help my leaders get across the finish line when we needed to come up with a couple $1,000 or $3,000. There was a day where I thought, oh, wow, that's a lot. And unless you go sell a diamond kit, I don't know how we're going to cross this goal. So what I have a new confidence where if we're really going for it, and if my leaders are in and we're all engaged, that I now have the leverage and the know-how and how to get people across that finish line. And I feel like that's really empowering for us as leaders. And it really creates a lot of excitement and win for those leaders that are really running with us. And that they're working really hard and they get to a certain point, but then you're like, okay. And so I've said, I say to my leaders, if you can get here, like knowing like we can close this gap together, I can help take care of this, but I need you to show up and do this amount of it for me to be able to get you over the finish line, right? I'm also always encouraging them to get all the way there, but especially if they have a big stretch, then I also want them to know kind of where that target zone is. Okay, so the first thing that we did was we did a study. Now, I have to admit that Elise kind of laid this out, and she does in-person studies, but I have team all over and I wanted to include everybody. So we had to create an online study, and it was a lot of work. I had to create 2 weeks of Facebook content, and I'm also happy to share that with all of you. But one of my leaders and we were kind of racking our brains like, oh my gosh, we're doing this. And what are we sharing on Facebook for 2 weeks? And so while committing to this goal, then I suddenly got myself into designing these programs. And as you know, these can be a lot of work. So what we did with the study, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to basically get as many people in front of us as we possibly could and get as many enrollments as we possibly could. So I knew that we had to create something that was going to really get momentum and get enrollments going. So I just wanted to share with you a little bit about what we did with our study. Have any of you guys done a study yet?
Yeah, we did a big aroma touch technique study. It was really successful last year,
Okay.
but that requires in person, so there's a limit to that. Whereas, I've been trying to figure out in the sleep category, which I think is really quite universal of an issue. I've been trying to figure out how to do this, more remotely and
Right.
make it valuable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested in
Have
this.
you done a study yet?
Wait, did you ask Jessica or me?
No, you.
Oh yeah, we did a pain study and we did do a sleep study, but what I loved about what Elise shared is that they did all their studies at the same time and we hadn't done our studies at the same time. And I thought, well, that makes a lot of sense. So there's always a way to up tweak whatever you're doing.
So what we did is we did pain, digestion, and stress. We decided to take sleep out. I think we could have left it in, but some of my other leaders felt like it was too dicey and too difficult. So anyway, we did pain, digestion, and stress. And what we did is we did 2 5-day phases. We didn't want it to be too long, so we did it basically kind of for over 2 weeks, but we had 5 days and 5 days, and then a little transitioning time between the two. And then also we wanted to have some time for the close. And we created a Facebook page for the leaders and then also the participants. And then we had leaders calls to help them. And then for the participants page, we had content that rolled out on the page every day that was, we really just did one post a day with education, and information. And then we did a total of 3 webinars. In phase 1, we focused on sharing deep blue, digestion, and balance. And then phase 2, we did aroma touch, terrazyme, and lavender, because we wanted to do a combination of blends and also some of the products. And then we also, what was really cool about bringing them together is the people that are in the pain study can see that, oh, you can use this for digestion, and or the people that were in the stress, like everyone's getting all the education, and it's really opening them up to the possibility rather than just having that one single focus. So that worked really well. We had, I think, over 300 people opt into the study. I'm not sure what our exact closing numbers were. We were trying to do I did a poll with my leaders to try to get an accurate read of that, but it's always sometimes hard to track that. So I don't have an exact number for you there. And then we also had close incentives. And luckily for us, it was the month that they were offering the 100, 100, 100. So that was great. And then coincidentally, some of the BOGOs that were happening that week directly correlated with some of the products that we were highlighting. So we were then able to use that leverage of, oh, and by the way, for all of you deep blue people, you can get deep blue today. And then we had if you make your purchase by the end of the weekend, you can opt in to win an LLV. And so we really did some bigger things team-wide to get people to enroll. Now, the other thing that we really stressed with our leaders is that we wanted them to be communicating with their participants at least every 3 days. We found that the people that actually spoke to their participants throughout the study were much more likely to enroll. And so we really stress that with our leaders, that if you're going to take the time to get people into this, you need to take care of them for the 2 weeks and build relationship and communicate with them. And so we recommended people bring in 3 to 5, but I had some people that brought in up to 20. But what my stress is I only want you to bring in the amount of people that you feel confident you can take care of. And so if that's 1 or 2 people, great. Love 1 or 2 people. But if you can take care of 20, by all means, go for it. So we left that, and I was actually really impressed with the amount that some people brought in. So some of the leaders just really ran with it, and it was awesome to see that. And then what's been really great about this is that we created a Dropbox folder for the team, and now I have different parts of my team that have continued to do this program on their own. And they've just continued to run with the studies within their smaller teams. So that's been really great. You know, I created it and now they can run with it, and I'll probably do another one team-wide soon. But it was definitely worthwhile getting this all together. And then of course they're, you know, tweaking it here and there, but for the most part, they've kind of stayed with the same system. So whether you do a study, or I've never done, is it the Nourish campaign or the Pamper campaign? I've never.
I think it's the Spoil. Is that the one you're talking about? The Spoil campaign?
The Spoil campaign. So whether you do a study or a Spoil campaign or something along those lines, having some of like that bigger program going on, I think is super helpful. And then really focusing on the people that need the volume and where you need to fill those holes, that you're really focusing on making sure that those people are getting, you know, giving them extra attention as far as them filling the study, like letting them know, we're going to create this to really help build out your organization. And so you can then give them some extra incentives, some that I'll get to in a second, to really incentivize them to get people into the study. Okay, so are there any questions about this? I'm going to move on to the next section.
I had 2 questions. So were all 3 studies, the information for the participants on the same Facebook page?
Yes.
Okay, and were all the leaders on the Facebook page?
Yes. So basically we asked that the leaders, so we had 2 Facebook pages, just to make that clear. We had one for just the leaders, so they could ask questions that we didn't want them asking in front of their participants. And we also had a weekly call just for the leaders. We started it a couple weeks before. Like what I did, I had a Zoom call for all my leaders to let them know I was doing the study, what it was going to entail. At first, I did it for my silver and above leaders, and I kind of went over the logistics so they knew what I was doing. Then we had a study once they invited their team, because you know, with our teams being so large, some leaders want to participate, some leaders don't want to participate. So I gave them the option, if you want to invite your team, then please bring them to this webinar, which was a couple days later. And then I gave them a little less information, but I basically say, okay, if you're going to, you know, this is more for like the elites and the lower ranks. If you want to participate in this, this is what's required. This is what it's going to cost you. These are the samples we are going to use. We're going to give you 2 weeks to invite people to get them into the study. And I basically am happy to share this folder with all of you. We had a folder for the facilitators and all the webinars built out, and you know, and all that information laid out. And then I had my graphic designer make some graphics, and then we had, you know, figured out our 2 weeks of postings, but I gave them all access to that. So if they wanted to go in and look at the material and see what we were doing, they had access to that.
Cool.
And then we got all the participants in the Facebook page, and then it was also the leaders' responsibility to be also participating on that Facebook page, answering questions, taking care of their people, making sure that, you know, their questions are getting answered. Of course, we as leaders and facilitators were also doing that, but we really wanted them to be engaged and participating. Now,
when we did our studies, we had our leaders be the coaches. You know, I told them, you're in charge of taking care of your own people. We'll provide the infrastructure, but you take care of your own people. And one of the things that came out from our participants that they wanted is they wanted to know which posts were from a coach and which posts were from a participant. Because some of them liked reading all of them, but all of them seemed to want to know the context. So we started just having our coaches post an emoji at the beginning of their post so everybody could tell who was a coach and who was a participant, and that worked really well.
Oh, cool.
That's a good idea.
So did you, did you have kind of pre-scheduled information, or was it just people posting as they wanted to post?
I'm trying to think if we did. It's been a while since I've done a study. We did several studies last year, but I think they were not automated because they kind of kicked my butt.
Yeah.
So as I think back, I don't think they were automated because they were a lot of work.
It is a ton of work. And the one thing that we wanted to do is, I feel like, Facebook can get so overwhelming for people so quickly. So we created, like, we did our webinar, and then the next day was simply like a reminder of, here's your protocol. And then the day after that was, we're going to review a few of the points that we learned in the webinar. And then Friday was Science Friday, where we had, here are some scientific, things that we would link back to doTERRA about the products we're using. And then on Saturday, we had a few testimonial videos, and we shared some stuff from the Empowered Life series, and we had a few leaders make videos. So, and then we had it kind of repeat that same pattern for the second week. And I felt like that worked really nicely, because we had a meme for every post, so it was really clear how to find the posts. If you guys want, I'm happy to add you to the study page so you can kind of go through and look at it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And I have a question about the phase 1 and phase 2. Did you guys basically just break for the weekend? Did you start on a Monday and then go through Friday and then just break for the weekend and then start again?
Everyone got added to the Facebook page on Monday. We did our introduction webinar on Tuesday. They did the protocol, I think, until Saturday. Then we did our second webinar on Sunday. They started the protocol on Monday. So, because I wanted people, if they couldn't join live, I wanted people to have a day to like watch the webinar. I think, if anything, our webinar, we have the hardest time keeping things short. I think a half an hour is ideal. Some of our webinars went longer. I think if I did that again, I would really try to keep the webinar shorter. I have a doctor on my team, and she loves, we just really start diving in the information and it gets too long. But, and then, so they started Monday, and then they went to Friday. We did our wrap-up webinar on Friday, and then over the weekend was the time to do the close. But then we announced the study results over the weekend. We announced some contest winners over the weekend. We had some, we didn't go crazy with the giveaways, but if people just simply participated, they got entered into a drawing to win some prizes. And then everybody who enrolled entered to win an LLV. And you can see that. And then also we had a testimonial day, and then we shared some of the testimonials in the webinar. So if you go to the Facebook page, you can kind of see how that's all laid out. But I think, it was, with the visuals were super helpful. Like having that meme and having it say, just laid out that way, I think really helped people follow it. So I was happy with how that played out. We gave that a lot of thought.
So can I ask you one more question before you go on?
Uh-huh.
How well do you think that your participants attended those webinars? Because we did live webinars during our studies before, and I felt like while they were well attended, I don't know that they were as well attended as they could have been. So did you do anything special to encourage people to actually attend the live webinars?
Well, before they opted into the study, we said it was required. So we coached our leaders to say, if you want to be part of the study, there are going to be 3 short webinars. There's going to be a Facebook page. And, what we're asking of you to give you this free product is that you're going to commit to showing up for this. And so we put it, and then we had an email that was written out that said, these are the dates, these are the times, this is a requirement to participate in this program. And we also, and knowing that not everyone, we had people in the study worldwide. I had people in Australia and Japan and Europe. So obviously time zone. So that's why when we did the webinar, we gave them 24 hours to watch it. So if they couldn't come live, they did need to watch it within 24 hours. And we also, through Zoom, we Facebook Lived it onto the page. So what was great is they could get on Zoom, or they could just get on the Facebook Live. And so that also, I think there was just something about that helped. But
is there a link on Zoom? I didn't know you could do that. There's a link on Zoom that allows you to Facebook Live?
Yeah, so you have to do it with the webinar feature. You have to have webinars.
Okay. The webinar upgrade, yeah.
What's really great about that, and so I do a monthly educational class, and we do it on Zoom, but I've been starting to just live stream it onto our product page. And then it records right into the page, so people can hop on, and then, usually you have the admin watching the chat on Facebook and watching the chat on Zoom. And then, you know what I mean? So then you can answer questions from both places, and it's great. So that was really great.
You have just answered my number one technological question. I've heard you could do it. I've played with so many different ways, but I've always been going through Facebook. It's through Zoom that you can do that.
Yeah, that's great.
And what's really helpful is that, Facebook's making it more and more difficult to get Facebook Lives off of Facebook, because we were downloading them and putting them up on my my Vimeo account, but now we're having issues getting them off of there. So I don't want everything just directly recorded only on Facebook. So then that way it can live there for people to go watch it, but then you can take the recording and put it somewhere else for its. Yeah. Yep.
So I have a question. I'm sorry about the sampling thing. So I just want to be clear though. These were somebody signed up to be a part of one of these studies, the pain or digestion or stress, right?
Yeah, they had to choose one.
Okay, and then the sampling, they paid a fee and then they were sent samples?
No, there was no fee. The leader paid for it.
The leader provided the samples to the person?
Yeah, and what we did is our webinar that we did for the leaders, you'll see that webinar, or that webinar is in the folder that I'll share with you, but I basically broke this is going to be the cost, and you're going to send them 2 drams of balance. And you're, and 5 packets. We did the little packets of Deep Blue. We had them send the packets. So I laid out the cost, and we said, if you're going to do this, it's going to cost you X amount per participant. Now, for the legs that I had baby builders, and I knew, where I really wanted the energy to go, where I needed it for my rank, I helped them with the product. And so I gave a lot of them what they needed. I still made them make the samples and send them out, but I helped in certain parts of my organization. Not across the board, but again, where I needed it.
So do you feel like the study program was a big piece of your achievement was due to this?
I definitely think it was helpful. I think that it really, it was this, and also in combination with the BOGOs, and then also in combination with the double commissions. So I'm gonna share those things with you. Okay. So moving on.
Aisha, yeah. One more thing really quick, just for future. Do you guys know about paypal.com/shipnow?
No.
Okay. This, if you're doing studies or doing anything like this, it's the most convenient way to ship. It's the cheapest way to ship, and everything that you ship has a tracking number, and you can do it right from home. So
that's cool.
You just log right in through your own Facebook or your own PayPal account. But first, you just go to paypal.com/shipnow, and everything else is self-explanatory.
Cool. Thank you.
See, we need to have these leader calls more often so we can share these very important
tips. It is a brilliant tip. Like that one thing will rock your world, I promise.
That's probably why you came to the call, just to get the Zoom information. That's
a great one.
I know. That rocks my world. Seriously.
I totally know. Okay. So I'm going to move on from the study. But again, I think, I will say though, going back, I had no idea how much work I was getting myself into. I was kind of stressing out creating this thing because we were launching it. I had leaders getting on board and we still didn't have the Facebook content. I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do for 2 weeks? Oh, and there's one more thing I want to say. So Elise talked about not adding people into the Facebook page until they have a good experience. But because we only had 2 weeks, I just thought, I just want to get people in front of us as soon as possible. And we're going to take a chance. Now we did, and I think there's always one in the group. We did have one woman freak out about, oh, you guys aren't being responsible and you can't use grapefruit, and coming up with all of those. Yeah. And so I had that morning where I woke up to her long, negative post on our Facebook page. And, but and I almost deleted it, but we gave a very good solid answer and basically explained how she was wrong and we were right. And so I left it up there for educational purposes. And then I had her leader call and talk to her directly and let her know that this was not the page for her negative dumping, basically. And maybe this was not the right program for her, and would she like to opt out? She decided to stay in, but with the agreement that she would, not be, blasting off with those kind of negative comments. So,
and you can do too is on the introductory webinar, you can tell them, if you have an experience that isn't what you expected, or you've got some serious questions, the place to ask those questions is not on the Facebook page, it's to your direct sponsor. That's where, we just tell them ahead of time, and that kind of mitigates that a little bit, because we've had that too.
Yeah, I know. It's that tricky thing. So, but I still think I would just still do it the same and have everybody go in a group, but that's a good idea. The other thing that we really stress too a lot in all the webinars, and Elise talked about this, about saying that not all oils work for everybody. Mm-hmm. And you might not experience, this is with Deep Blue, this is our first go-to, but if it doesn't work for you, please, share that with your sponsor. And if you're open to trying other things, that we can give you other samples after the study. So we really wanted people to know that if they did not have an experience, if they were willing to be patient, that we would continue to work with them, and that, it doesn't always happen for everybody. So we wanted to kind of make everyone aware of that. So if somebody wasn't experiencing anything and they're reading that all these other people are, that they're not feeling like, okay, this doesn't work and I'm done with essential oil. So I think, and we kept reiterating that message in every single webinar to really stress that. So, okay, you guys ready to move on from here?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so this was a tip then that I got from Melina. And have you guys ever done this, the double commissions? Have you heard of this?
I have, and a couple legs done it.
Okay, so, and how about you, Jessica? Because
no.
Okay, so I'll just go over this briefly. So this is something that Melina shared with me. I had never done it before. And the idea is it's basically double fast starts, but she recommended saying double commissions because somebody that's really new or a new builder might not even know what fast starts is. And then this is something that I'm actually offering to any brand new builders, right out of the gate, to get them started. She feels like it's more effective with someone that's really new opposed to somebody that's building for a long time, because they might think, well, why haven't you offered this to me in the past, et cetera, et cetera. So I offered this in my new leg, or the new leg that I needed to take Premier to Platinum. I did also offer it strategically with some of my builders that have been around, but they're still somewhat new. So this actually helped one of my premiers get to silver. She was taking a trip down in California, and I wanted to do everything I could to incentivize her. And she had 15 enrollments that month. She got herself to silver, and I was so happy to give her that extra money to help pay for her trip. So this was the meme that I created. And that what I did was I talked to all of my leaders, and then we talked about who we were going to offer it to. And then I created this meme, and I basically created the text, and then I had them text it out to everybody. And so I just, did the example. So I really wanted people to see that if you sell a diamond kit, you're going to make $800 commission, and every oil kit, $570, Natural Solutions, $160. And then you have to, Jessica, make sure that all of the enrolling sponsors are in line, which I also love that because it gets everybody engaged. And then I had this, little text sent out that really explained that they were going to get 20% back from doTERRA. They're going to get 10% back from, the first upline, and then that third upline, which was me in this scenario, I was paying the 5% and the extra, kicking in the extra 5%. So, I've also done this, like if I'm not part of the 5%, where I've still paid the extra 5%. So depending on the leader.
An extra component,
Look at decide who's responsible for paying what. And this was a really great way, is an incentive for the builder to go out. And then this is also something that we offer to some of the leaders that were in the study. So, we'd say, okay, however many people you get in the study, however many of them enroll, I'm going to offer you double commissions this month. So this is a really great way for you to, make extra money. And I feel like it just helps them have extra skin in the game, showing them how much money they can make. And again, that's the text that I use. And I kind of wrote it out so every leader could fill in their name and email. And I don't know about you guys. I have, of course, some leaders that are really capable about making their own memes and writing this stuff up. And I have other leaders that still fall a little short. And so I probably overfunction, but sometimes I find it easier if I just create it and hand it to them and tell them to send it out.
That's really beautiful. Like, you do a really good job with that. I love that.
And you create people the consistent information.
What's that?
Still there?
Oh, you're cutting out. Is that Marty?
Yeah, I think it's me cutting out, but I was just going to say, I think it's a good idea I found, because people will misinterpret what you said.
Yes.
I've
also learned when, like, giving information that you really have to spell it out. Like, you're going to do this. 2, you're going to do this. 3, you're going to do this. The other thing that I think is really important if you do this is, as soon as somebody sent me their screenshot of their enrollment, I paid them. Like, I paid them instantly, or as quickly as I could get to pay my PayPal account, because I don't want them waiting, or is she going to pay me? Like, I wanted them to have immediate satisfaction that they were going to get paid. And I instructed that of all of my leaders. I'm like, you're not waiting days to pay them. You're paying them immediately. So that's really important for me. Okay. So this was something that, again, I offered strategically.
Okay, so did you, the thing that I did differently, a little bit differently, and I like the way you're doing it here. So you were actually getting commitments for people on a 3-line payout for any place where this is being done ahead of time.
Yes.
Okay, got it. All right.
Yeah. Now, the one conversation that can come up, and it probably will, is I had leaders say, but I don't want to give up my commissions, right?
Yeah.
And so I would have to explain to them that in the long run, they're going to get the second fast start. The amount of money they're giving up is actually probably relatively not very much. They wouldn't be making that money anyway. We are helping establish and build their business, and that it is in their very best interest to be giving up that $20 that they're getting from doTERRA. And once I walked everyone through that, they were like, okay, I got it. But if that comes up, and it might with some leaders, you have to kind of give them some coaching. Now, another thing is if you say you have a leader or a non-leader that's sitting in the enrollment tree, making a paycheck and doing nothing, this is a great way to say, this is a really great way that you could support the builder underneath you, is to give back your commission. And we're going to do this program for this amount of time. And we would like to get you involved in that to help support them to give back your commission. So I think it's a great way to engage somebody that's just hanging out doing nothing too. Okay, any questions about this one?
No.
Okay, great. Okay, so then the next thing that I laid out, and there were a couple that I did early in the month, and then there were some that I laid out mid-month. So I do have a couple people that were premier that I really wanted to support them in getting to elite, and I gave them a $200 cash incentive if they got themselves to elite. Now, I've played around. Oh, did we lose Marty? Or just your camera?
I'm here. I just turned the camera off so it would get a better signal.
No worries. So I've been kind of playing, and I'd love to hear from you guys. I've been playing around with how much money will someone get excited about? And I feel at our level, we start to lose perspective. You're like, oh, $200. That's, pocket change for us at this point. But I found people to get really excited about the magic number of 200. I mean, maybe they would for 100, but I found 200 to be kind of a sweet spot, at least for some of my ladies. And so for those premiers moving to elite, I basically said, if you get yourself to elite by the end of the month, I'm going to give you a $200 bonus. So and I did that one from the beginning of the month because they're also baby builders. Now, I also find that this has been something I've been really, really become hyper aware of, is that if you have a baby builder and they don't necessarily have all the skills and the tools, you want to give them a goal that you really feel like they can achieve and that their leader is supporting them. So that somebody else might be helping them with the classes or helping them with their enrollments or their membership overviews, and that they're getting the support that they need to win. Because I think that the more we can help people have small wins in this business, the more it's going to keep them in the game, especially if you're looking at a share or somebody that's not really confident, and really giving them, attainable goals. So they have the win of getting that $200. Now, also, if somebody is working friggin' really hard, and I know they're working hard and I know they're enrolling and they haven't hit the number, but they've gotten really close, that I think that happened with one of my silvers and with one of my elites. I think I still sent my elite $100 with, I know you worked really hard, great job, and really acknowledged her efforts. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then and again, like in February, every day I was like, I'm doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm doing this. This is impossible. Like I had a lot of oscillating. And then a lot of my own moments of fear of like, okay, well, how about if I lay out a $500 cash incentive and half of them get there and half of them don't? But I had to let all of that go. And so this month I went to the new silvers, and it was awesome that doTERRA extended the period for leadership qualifications. Because
the timing, good timing.
So I went to 3 of the, they were all elites. And I said, I want to see you at leadership. I want you there. And I'm going to give you $500 if you hit silver to help cover your expenses and your trip. And that got a lot of attention from them. And they got working really hard. Now, one of them in that organization said, no way, it's impossible. One of them got there, and one of them almost got herself there. But it basically brought the team up enough that we got into the range that we need. We got it close enough so we could actually get her to platinum. I also then had a leaders dinner at leadership for all of those that were newly qualifying and running. And what was amazing was I had 2 new platinums, and the platinum went with her 3 new silvers. I think I had 6 or 7 new people at leadership from that month, from GS, which was a huge win to get them to leadership. Huge. Yeah. So, obviously you guys know this, but if you looking as much as you can with what doTERRA has going on, and know, originally we had picked March. Melina said that typically there's the Deep Blue promo in March, right?
Right.
And there's usually the 200 PV offer. So now I'm actually really glad that I ran for it in February, because I don't think March would have been the month, actually.
Right.
And when I look back with Emily Wright saying, oh, I think you should do it in February. Of course, she knows way more than I do in that moment. I was like, oh, she was, I think, telling me that February was the month to do it. And she was right. And I'm glad that I hopped on board with that. But, if you can look at a month where there's going to be a 200 PV offer, maybe in July we might be having BOGOs, all of that extra stuff that we can leverage is huge.
Right.
So to work that into your plan. And then another thing that I did was I got on the phone, like I asked my platinum, which of your leaders need support that I could use the leverage of my rank, right? And get on the phone with her and give her a coaching session. So I got on the phone with a couple of her leaders directly and had one of those, I believe in you, let's make a plan, you got this, what do you have going on? And strategizing with them and infusing them with the belief that they can do it and that you are so excited to see them at leadership. And that also had an impact. And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I don't think of myself as a big deal. And I really, in learning from Elise, have really had to wrap my head around like really leveraging our rank and how other people see us, and and using that in a motivational way, because I've seen the power it's had on reaching out and calling up an elite and saying, I care about you. I see that you're working. I'm here to support you and I want you to win. What that means, I guess it's sort of like Emily Wright saying to me, oh, you're going for presidential. And you're like, oh no, Emily says I'm going presidential. I have to do it. Right. So there's, I think, a time and a place where we can use and leverage our rank and our status to help inspire those people on our team.
Yeah.
So any way that you can do that also is important. Okay. Now this is also, I put this in here because this is something that I used a lot to get to Blue. But I also, now doTERRA was offering it, so we could already leverage it. But this is something that I used to work up to Blue and to stabilize my Blue, and I still use it strategically as needed. And I found that the 100 incentive is, in my opinion, one of the best enrollment incentives we have, and people take action on it, and it gets people on LRP, which I love. So I offer this myself. I mean, I have a whole closet full of product, right? I have a ton of points. And so the deal is you enroll someone with 100, you get them on LRP for 100. I am going to give you 100 points of product. And you want to make sure you specify it's for points only, so you don't have people sending you orders with the LLV and things that are going to cost you money. And then I either drop ship those orders out of my back office, or I just fulfill it from my own office supply. And most of the time I just fill it with product that I already have. And what I also love about this is that I make it fully the responsibility of the person that enrolls them. So it's their job. It really ensures that they do their follow-up and their lifestyle overview with the person. They're paying attention to when their LRP processes, and then it's their job to connect with the person, get the order, and I ask that they send me a text with the address and the PV order and the name, and then I'll send it out within a couple of days of receiving it. And so, like, if I know that I have somebody doing a class like on the last day of the month, or if they're going out of town, or they're working really hard to stabilize their rank, I'll strategically say, I'm going to give you a one-night offer that you can offer this in your class tonight. So this, along with the 200 PV or the $200 cash incentive, was something that I just kept offering month after month to certain parts of my organization to help stabilize some of my legs. So this is just a great thing. Now, one thing that I'm offering this month, and I've told my leaders to do, because we have the 50-50 from doTERRA, is have them enroll with their 50, and then tell them when they, if they go on LRP for 100 the following month, you're going to give them your 50. So they're going to get 100 once they go on LRP. You're going to get the points in your account. So it's going to be your job to fulfill the order and drop ship it to them. But it's well worth giving up your points to get them on LRP.
Yeah, I agree. So you've been doing that, you've done that. I think that's a great idea to do that as a stabilization, not just a one-time hit.
Yeah,
And
I do this actually every month in different parts of my organization.
yeah.
And I just keep doing it, and I find it to be super effective. And then like 2 months later, I get a random text, so-and-so needs such and such. And I'm like, great. And I send it off.
Yeah.
You know?
So, and what happens when you pull it away? What happened to your teams like this month or March without these things?
Well, what I found is that every month in the weak spots, I am putting in incentives. Like
Still working. Yeah. It's normal.
Like I'm not necessarily doing all of it everywhere. I'm not personally doing a study, but I have another girl who's running for platinum this month, and she's doing her own study.
Right.
I'm not offering this month because doTERRA has the 50/50, but I'm educating my team on how to leverage that. So every month I'm just kind of looking at that. And then, but I just had a leader, go to California. So I gave her some product, and we did bring a friend to class for all the people she just enrolled, and you'll get a free product, and then offer the 100 to the new enrollment. So I just kind of keep implementing these same strategies. So I find that they're working. And so why not just keep running with it?
It's great.
Okay.
And Aisha, one thing that I do when I am giving my team members incentives is I just have a Google form that I have them fill out their name, number, what the incentive was for, exactly what they want, the address where it's supposed to go, and then my assistant can just help fulfill that.
Oh, perfect. That's awesome. Yeah, you got it more dialed than I do. My assistant is, anyway. That's a whole nother conversation. Okay, so then this was another thing that we've been doing. And this, for instance, I have someone in Diamond Club who's doing this right now. This was also another tip from Melina. And then I had people offer this, especially in that month. And because essentially, you want to get as much volume on other people's credit cards, right? Because when you go, I don't know if any of you have been audited, but when you go presidential, you will be audited. So know that. I didn't know that. And I got the audit notice, and I was like, what's this?
Yeah, right before convention last year, like 4 of my leaders and I got audited. We all were fine, but
yes, exactly.
Talk about a nail biter. You're walking in, you're planning all your team events, and then you're like, what?
Right.
And wrong week. They picked a bad week.
And I went to that immediate feeling of, I'm guilty. I'm not guilty, but am I guilty? Are you going to find something wrong? I'm trying to follow the rules, but did I do something wrong? Anyway, it was all good, but it took me, after I hit presidential, it took me a week to get all that together. And so I didn't feel like I could actually take a breath until a week later.
Yeah.
Okay, so with this class incentive, the incentive is purchase a natural solutions kit and get a free Virage kit, but you have them buy the Virage kit. And then the builder or you or whoever's in agreement to do this is going to pay them back in cash for the Virage kit. So then that way you're adding that much more to the order. Now you could say any skincare kit if you wanted. Now with the Virage kit, there is a slight difference in PV and dollar value. So you're out a few dollars there. But that can basically, just up the amount that they're purchasing. And I think because a lot of people love skincare and don't buy the skincare right away, it's also a good way to get it into their hands. So we've had really good luck with offering that incentive. And it really makes the most sense not to give them the Virage kit, but you have them order it on their credit card. That's the whole point of doing this, is you're just going to buy it now. I'm going to pay you back.
Right.
I mean, you could do that. You could throw in any item and do that same idea. But the skincare kit seems to have a lot of appeal.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of you guys have class incentives that you love?
We've had them, but I haven't done really big ones. They've been diffusers and books and tools. I just got, I didn't really think about this process of paying behind the scenes.
That's me too. That's a new one for me. I like that because I've given skincare kits before. I love skincare because people get hooked on it and then order every month. But I love paying them back. That's cool.
Right. Yeah, I know. I was like, you're like, oh, perfect. That's perfect. Right. Okay. So then the next one, okay, so this is your last ditch effort. And this is what can help you cross the finish line. So have you guys done BOGOs? Or yes or no?
Before they had them, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to just share some different ways that I did them, and I would love to hear ways that you've done them. I know that there's the BOGO rules and the way that you know, what's kind of a legal BOGO and an illegal BOGO. And then, of course, the one thing to know is that you're borrowing volume, you know, so when you're going to do these pushes, you know, you might be taking out somebody's spending from the next month. So I feel like BOGOs are super powerful, but it's not something I like to do a lot. I like to really use it at the right time and be smart about it. So one way that I've done them is, again, I find that if I make the meme and write out all the instructions and send those to my leaders, it's much more effective. So this is one I've had, well, actually, I meant to put a different one on here because there's a couple dollar difference in that kit. So it's obviously best to do straight PV for straight PV. And this one isn't straight for straight. But I love to do buy a rose, get a jasmine. And so I have that written out on the sample. And what we've done is we've looked at the legs. And this is another thing that we had the whole week of BOGOs. And you guys probably did the same thing, but I created a private BOGO Facebook page and did extra videos and incentives and was up all night creating that content, you know, and really hit that hard. I have to admit that, you know, previously when BOGOs have hit, I've not really truly leveraged the power of the BOGO. And I've just, you know, put it on my main page, but I haven't really hit it home. And I've really learned the power of the BOGO and the volume that can be created quickly with it. And it's pretty amazing, actually. So if you're not really like fully maximizing the BOGO, I really recommend getting behind it, especially when doTERRA is offering them.
You know what? We should start a BOGO group where each of us take one day to create that content. So we only have to stay up all night once.
Oh my God.
And they're providing some of it, but I think the hard part is you get this whole point of fatigue after a couple of days of like, okay, who's reacting, who's not, you know, and getting a bigger audience is really the key, I think, on the BOGOs.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So what I've done is I've sent this out to my leaders, and then we have sent it into the legs that need the volume. So it's kind of, and, you know, and I'll usually write it up as a, you know, 24-hour customer appreciation exclusive or whatever is going on. It could be a Mother's Day special or whatever you want it to be. You send it with the meme and then with the instructions. And what I have them do is I have them go into their back office and buy the whole BOGO. And then they text a screenshot to me and I reimburse them for the second item. So what I've loved about that is I don't have anything to ship. The money is on their credit card and it's done. So another way you can do a BOGO, and I've done this specifically with some healthcare practitioners, and I had one gap I needed to close, and I had a woman go and do a $500 purchase. Actually, she did a $1,000 purchase. I reimbursed her for $500. I mean, this is, you know, going for presidential, I was laying it all on the line. I was like, whatever you want. You know?
Right.
I mean, I was getting in that home stretch and I'm like, tell me what you want. It's like I'm wheeling and dealing. You want to go buy $500 of oils? I'll give you $500 for free. But I had her put $1,000 on her credit card because all of those purchases, I'm like, that's not even, I'm not counting that as part of my buy-in. And I was also like, for me, I wanted to make sure that I made my blue bonus and then maybe a little bit more. But for my first hit, I just wanted to cross the finish line. And I didn't care if I used up all of my bonus money doing it. I just wanted to get across the finish line. So, so if you have healthcare practitioners Like I had somebody, they had a chiropractor, they went to, I had different leaders and I was like, okay, who on your team might be willing to do a bigger purchase that we could offer them a 24-hour special, get them on the phone. And I had a lot of people respond to that. And that actually helped me close, some of the gaps in different parts of my legs. So really getting those out and having your leaders and getting strategic about that. And then you could even do a BOGO, buy whatever you want for $100. And then I'm going to give you 100 free. So buy $200 of oil, I'll reimburse you 100. So, you can play with that. But really.
And have you had people push back with like, why are you doing that, in a way like they don't trust it? Or has it always been like tight relationships that you're talking to?
No, I've had great luck with it. And I have had, I've had good luck with that. I haven't had anyone like really.
I've never had any pushback. I've never seen people push back if you want to give them free stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so it's like it's a temporary sales incentive.
Yeah. And what I loved about doing the rose jasmine, or it could be, rose and get a jasmine or a neroli, is that I've had people come back to me and say, I've wanted these oils. I haven't been able to afford them. Thank you so much. I love doing like in Mortel, and it's super fun to get creative with the BOGOs, and you can do them kind of theme specific. Another thing that we did, which was super successful, is I did a builder BOGO, and I targeted my builders, like new baby builders. And I was like, okay, let's get you the oils that you need for sampling. So, buy a lavender, get a lavender. Buy an On Guard, get an On Guard. I also did a BOGO for the emotional aromatherapy kit, which was what was great too. It's nice to have smaller ones and larger ones. So if I got people doing the emotional aromatherapy kit, that was a $200 purchase, right? And so I was trying to target different price points, but also have some bigger purchases so I could kind of keep closing that gap. And then of course I would do the math and go, okay, here's the gap I need to fill. I need to sell X amount of these and X amount of these, etc. So how have you guys done BOGOs? I'd love to hear any other ideas while we're talking about BOGOs.
I've done mostly BOGOs that have been for my buying legs, because I have some legs that have been involved for 8 and 9 years. They're not builders. They just love the products. They buy every month. And every now and again, they have the budget to pop their volume. Yeah. So I've done BOGOs where it's like, buy 100, get 100, buy 200, get 100 plus this, get in a drawing for every oil kit, whatever, like the little sample kit thing that she talked about. People love that. It's a pain to make, but it's really a great gift. And, I think that's the way that I've done it, but I haven't really honestly taken it out to the public. But I think that I love your idea on the themes with the builders, because I haven't really targeted to builders, and it certainly would make sense to get them, increasing their purchasing. Do you do that on a daily basis? So there's like every day there's a different one, or how did you do it?
No, we did it kind of as a one-day special.
Okay.
And we kind of sent them out, and they were all time sensitive. And I think I did 3 different ones with a targeted group. And that was hugely successful.
And I've done these in the last few days of the month before, just kind of again, using the points, using, whatever. I'm going to be buying in anyway, so I'm buying in what they're going to get.
I know,
and
it's helpful.
Yeah,
it makes that easier. You have to think about what you're buying.
Yeah. But and I really hate to say this, but I have to go. So Jim, take good notes.
Yeah, I think we're done. I hope this has been helpful.
Really helpful. And I so appreciate your being so authentic and candid about what you've done and, how it's worked. And I think that, the message to me is it goes back to, in the midst of swimming up the stream of running these businesses and having a life and trying to deal with the new promotional burst that comes through every month and processing all of that, is also making the time strategically for our own business, not just to help others do theirs. And I mean, like in the downline. So I think that, your overall message that I really am taking away from myself is really, these are great, you've done some wonderful new things with what some of the basics were that she gave us. But I love the idea of like, stop the world, make a plan, talk to your people, implement the plan.
Right.
No turning back. Everybody's 100% we're in. And every time that I've really stretched for things, it has to be, there is no out. You have to do it, because if you're going to lay out any money, I don't know about you guys, but I don't have a couple thousand to spare. So I want to make sure if I put it down, I'm getting it back and then some, you know? And so I think that this is a really great reminder of that. And I so appreciate you doing this today. I just can't even tell you. So
Yeah,
I'm going to sign off, but I would love to be on that Facebook page if you were willing to share that.
I'll add you
and
all when we're done.
Yeah, and if you guys want anything from an Aroma Touch study, it was a really great approach for people to get a lot of enrollment that are more of the softer side, the healer types, you know, and I'd be happy to send that off too. I don't know, Asti, if I have your email, but mine.
Give me your email, Marty, and I'll send you an email.
It's Marty Harger, so MartyHarger, and then the number 1 at Gmail.
Perfect.
And I'm not sure if I have, Isha, I don't know if I have yours. So if you wouldn't mind just, have we emailed? No, we've emailed, haven't we?
Yeah, I think we've just been on Facebook, but I'll send you my email when we're done.
That'd be great. Cool. Okay. Thank you so much. I have to run, but you guys all have a great day.
Okay.
Thanks, Marty.
Take care. Good luck to everyone. Bye.
I'm sorry this call is going so long. I do have one more thing to share, and then I think this is.
I'm still good. I can stay on.
Okay, good.
That's great stuff. I can stay on too.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And are you doing okay, Jessica?
Yes, I'm loving it. I'm trying to hold still because I'm only getting service in one spot. So
Okay.
I'm literally frozen, and like I am just here for every word you have to share.
Are you seeing the visuals too, or are you just on the phone?
I had to switch to the phone, but I will go back through in the recording and piece it all together.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is the thing that I want to share that is amazing. And maybe you guys already know this, but but it kind of blasted open my brain. This was the Premier to Platinum and why you want to go Premier to Platinum. And this was something that Melina like kind of opened my eyes to, because of course I was like, how do you do that? You know? And she told me, she said, make sure, because, you know, I needed her to be platinum for me to be presidential. But when they pass through silver at presidential, you get another share. You get a one-time share in your bonus. So that gives you even more bonus money to leverage. And the other thing about that is friggin' awesome is my platinum in her first paycheck, I believe, made over $4,000. And all of my silvers made over $2,000 because of all the fast start and extra bonuses that she got for all of her elites hitting. So what was great is, like, think about this. You know, truth be told, I have people that have been working their hiney on for years that are barely silver that have not made $2,000 yet. So for me to have brand new builders be hitting silver and making over $2,000 got their attention. And she had a doubting husband. So for her to bring in a $4,000 paycheck got his attention. And it really showed them what was possible. And it helped build major momentum and excitement because, right, the paycheck speaks. So the beautiful thing about how we had this laid out was she had her top line builders in place. And I basically said to her, and this is one of the reasons this was able to work, is she was friggin' running with me. If this would have been me trying to like build a platinum leg on my own with everything else I was doing, I really don't think I could have done that. So and one thing that was really eye-opening to me in a big way is when Elise talked about capable and committed builders. And I'd realized that in that 3 years of holding at Diamond, I'd spent a lot of time waiting on the wrong people and wasting my time on the wrong people. And it was really needing to go out and find some fresh blood and some new people and up level who I was calling in as a leader and actually really being mindful of who I was putting on my top line and who I was working with. So if that's something that you don't have yet, to go presidential, I highly recommend getting out there, enrolling, networking, and looking for somebody that wants to run, because having somebody that wants to run with you opposed to somebody that you're dragging makes the world of difference, and it makes this job fun and easy, and it really really ignited my passion to see her passion and how excited she was and how she was making everything happen. So her name is Stephanie. She gets huge kudos and credit for this because she was all in with me. And so I basically told her, she didn't have her structure in place at the beginning of the month. We did not have a silver structure in place. And I said, okay, we need to find either some builders, some sharers, or some placeholders, and we need to get those people enrolled, and we need to get them enrolled with the biggest kits we possibly can. So for instance, her mother enrolled a friend with a diamond kit, and I think I offered an incentive back on that. I can't even remember what I offered back, but we were doing enrollment incentives. We were also, luckily, the BOGOs were going on, so we had all kinds of deals going on everywhere. But she got all of those enrollments in place, and I also knew that my $14,000 of buy-in was majority going to be going on this leg. So I needed to make sure my other legs were pretty tight and that I got her into my strike zone, because I knew that pretty much every dollar of buy-in I needed was going to go in under her. But what was awesome about that was all that buy-in went on those brand new legs that were getting fast start. So those silvers were getting 20%, she was getting 10%, and I was getting 5%. And so again, the money that was coming back from that was friggin' awesome. So it was funny because she almost was getting to silver. And at one point, I was like, I didn't know if I was going to go presidential. And I thought, oh, okay, I might just have to let go of my bonus. I really want her at leadership. She really wanted to get to leadership. And I was like, but I'm not going to slow her down. If she gets to silver and I don't get to presidential, fine. I'm just going to leave that. But as I was looking at it, I'm like, no. This all has to line up. And it did. And it was awesome. So just...
Can you review what do you mean by platinum 10% of 2,700?
The 2,700 was that should be 27,000. Oh no. Yeah. So what it was is that
with her fast start bonuses.
Yeah. So
her silvers, her new silvers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was
okay.
Amount, I did the slate. It was the amount.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out what that was referring to.
So she was getting her 20 and again, depending on your organization and how many people you have in place or not, these numbers are going to vary. But if you have this kind of situation, just be aware of how you can leverage it and how it's worthwhile while you're hitting presidential for the first time, if you can have a new silver passing through to platinum. And how to work.
And isn't that an extra 10,000? Is that a $10,000 share?
Me, it was, because it was a high hit month, it was a little bit less than that. So if you're going in one of the months where a lot of people are hitting rank and the bonuses are a little less, that happened to me both in a blue month and a presidential month with extra bonuses, and the bonuses were a little bit less. But yes, exactly. Roughly, it should be around 10,000. If it's an off month, then I think that's what they say it's around.
Nice.
So I just wanted to bring your awareness to that, because that really opened my eyes, and I thought that is amazing for her to experience, and it just really was good. So basically, that is. Hold on, I'm going to just stop sharing. That is the end of my presentation and everything that I did to get to presidential. So if you have any last questions or comments or things that you want to share, we can chat.
My one last question is, what's the timing of your studies? Like, when in the month of hitting presidential did you actually do the studies?
Oh, well, so let's see. originally we bumped it up. We started it in the beginning of February, so we were wrapping it up
Mid.
you know what, actually I think we were wrapping it up with like a half a week left, because originally I was going to run it in March, right? And then I decided I had to bump it up. And so we started it, I think 1 or 2 weeks into February. Anyway, it was wrapping up. I think we had 5 days left of the month. But if I was to do that again, I would start it the beginning of the month, so it's wrapping up the middle of the month. So you have time to keep trickling in. Because sure, you want everyone to get enrolled over the weekend. The reality is that doesn't necessarily happen with everyone's schedules and connecting and this and that. So having as much time to get them in that month, I think, is really important.
Right. Perfect. Thank you. This has been fantastic.
You're so welcome. Well, it was fun to kind of recap it all and lay it all out. So tell me, Asti, when are you going presidential?
Oh, don't ask me this very moment. Let's talk next week. I want to assimilate that. Like, I really need to take a look at my numbers, because I've actually had some downtime. So as I'm gearing back up, I just want to check in. And as you were talking about kind of making sure all your people were laid out and where they were at, I think really that's the key, is to, because your premier, she had her 3 capable leaders, right? She at least had her 3 capable leaders to run with.
2. One is her mom. And so one was more of a placeholder. So she had 2 and a placeholder.
2 and a placeholder. And so she raised that 3rd silver by herself. She
Yeah.
basically had to go silver in a month and depend on her other 2 people to go silver also. Yeah. So that's what I want to dial in and take a look and get figured out. And yeah, but I am going to declare that this is the year.
Yay! And how about you?
Well, I'm going to defer that to my wife, but I'm going to commit to this is the year as well.
And
Asti,
Jessica,
I think,
how about you?
Well, I'm a diamond, so I want to hit blue first, and so I want to hit blue this year.
Right on. Okay.
But sounds like when I hit blue, I'm just a quick jaunt from presidential, now that I have all these strategies. So
Right.
but I'll go with blue this year. I feel good about that.
Awesome. One thing I want to tell you guys is what's been really awesome is that, of course, I have to stabilize presidential, right? But my blue is rock solid now. And so, you know, in the push for blue, my diamond was rock solid, and then I was kind of like stabilizing blue. But now that I've pushed for presidential, blue diamond is in the back.
Solid. Yeah.
That is amazing. I'm like, I am really happy to be a solid blue diamond, you know, working. And then I want to, of course, get this totally solid as well. I don't like to be a duct tape rank, but I found with these larger ranks, it's definitely more moving pieces to keep together.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So push for that rank. And what you can do, especially like say, look at the areas that need to be strengthened and start strengthening them. So implementing that 100, 100, 100, looking at baby builders and start offering those $200 promos now, because I was doing that pretty consistently every month, even on the months that I wasn't running for it. So by the time I wanted to get to presidential, I had a lot of those holes filling up and a lot more solid.
Right. Right. I think that's the key.
Yeah. Begin to solidify all of that as much as you can now and to start closing that gap. And then I really think, and really also keep track of your numbers, like start looking at your presidential numbers, or you know, start looking at your blue diamond numbers so you can actually see what the gap is. Because the thing is I actually sat from diamond to blue diamond with probably a $14,000 gap for several years, not knowing how to close the gap.
We might be closer than we think we are.
Yeah, and once I really learned from Elise, I was like, oh my God, I've been leaving that money on the table for 3 friggin' years because I haven't known how to just cross that finish line. And then once I just kind of awakened to that, I was like, oh my goodness, you know? And if you haven't been to Prague, and I mean, I'm making sure I have a lot of my team going to Prague. I have leaders that just got back. And then I also am really stressing to my leaders to go to her training in January every month. And every time that I go and learn from her, I learn more. So I know some of you, like, she's not my upline leader, and I haven't in the past had a lot of exposure to her, but I found of all the doTERRA trainings I've done, all the coaching I've done, all the money that I've invested, like, the time I've spent with her has been the most changing for my business, and I am so grateful for that.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
She is amazing. Yes. You're on her team, aren't you?
No, we're just really good friends.
Oh, you're not. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you've
on
had
our
that
team.
exposure of being her friend. So I've just been so grateful, and just being in her energy and her passion and her brilliance. Like, it's really
Yeah, I think, yeah, she really does bring it to that mind-blowing strategies. I think that's just so, it's a different mindset for most of us, because it like opens your eyes to the step out of kumbaya and enter into real business world, right?
totally. Exactly.
So this has been great. So how are we going to get a copy of this recording? I want this for review.
I will upload it to my Vimeo, and I'll do that right after we're done, and then I'll send you guys all a link. And I know, Jessica, if you want to share it with Esther, that's fine. I don't think I'm necessarily going to post it anywhere besides my Vimeo, but I'll share it with all you guys. And
Would you allow me to download it if you just send me the share directly from your Zoom?
you know what? I can send you it via Dropbox. I don't upload it to my cloud.
Oh, gotcha.
But
okay, yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll send you the actual recording, and then also the link to Vimeo where I'll have it living.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you so much. This has been fun. We'll have to get together again.
Definitely.
And don't forget to add me to the Facebook page, not just Marty.
Oh, I won't. I'll do that all right now, you guys. Anything else from Jessica or Marty before we hop off?
That's good.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so very much. Say hi to Larry.
I will. He's playing his guitar in the next room.
Awesome. Thanks,
All right.
Aisha.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Aisha.